from my entire incarceration, I had a crusade against Puff, and every opportunity I get, I tell everybody, what I thought about him as far as calling witnesses to testify against me. I call it dry snitching back in those days, and what a terrible person I thought he was. But you have to move on.
Yeah. Big Boy's Neighborhood. All righty now, man. It is a pleasure to have this man in the neighborhood, man. Shyne, welcome to the, Shyne Poe, I can say welcome back to the neighborhood.
That's right.
Man, for one, it's a pleasure to have you in the neighborhood, man. We haven't had a chance to sit down in, over 2 decades.
That's right.
But the love was never lost.
25 years, no, it wasn't.
I know, man. Welcome back to the neighborhood, bro.
You hit me randomly the other day, and I was already planning to come to L.A., So I said, listen, I gotta go see my guy.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you in the neighborhood, bro.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to just see you, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when we think of you, Shyne, I think of hip hop. I think of history.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I think of just this beautiful journey that you have had and that you were on, and then you also see there's the moment of like the dams too. You know what I'm saying? There's the damn moment that come with it too, man. But I would have to say, in the last, we are 25 years from the Shyne album.
Yes, 25 years, September 26, 2000.
For those, man, I like to just paint a picture of Shyne before we get into anything, man. Was hip hop one of your first loves, Shyne? Did you fall in love with hip hop?
It was hip hop after reggae and dancehall music.
Really though. What was in the household?
Household was reggae, dancehall.
Really though.
Like my father was a DJ.
Yes, sir.
And he used to play. One of his favorite songs was by a gentleman by the name of Yellow Man from Jamaica, and it's called Boops. So, but obviously R&B and hip hop was also prevalent in Belize as well.
And you were born in Belize?
I was born in Belize.
And when did you come to the States, Shyne?
I came to the States in 87 or 88.
So you're about...
But I think I started visiting maybe like in 85. My mom left to find a better life. And maybe she sent for me like on a summer vacation, 85 for the first time. But I stayed, I think, 88.
Really though? Hey, man, and how old are you when you come to the States?
I was maybe about 8 years old.
8 years of age.
Yeah.
So you remember Belize very well?
Oh yeah, and then what had happened was is when I did come back, I always visited Belize.
Gotcha. So Belize was always in.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, 8 years old. My daughter's 8 years old. Hello, Naomi. Daddy loves you. It's a pretty advanced age. So my recollection of Belize is vivid. I remember when my mom left. Things were hard for my mom, single mother. I was born out of wedlock, so my mom left Belize to try to find a better life. And she didn't tell me she was leaving, but I knew she was leaving. And when she got on the plane, or when she left to get on the plane, I thought I was going to die. I remember that day. I never cried, never was so heartbroken because I know my mom was going to leave.
Yeah, and that's one of those things.
She left to find a better life for her and I. And if she didn't leave, I would have never been Shyne and sold all those millions of records. So thanks, Mom.
Hey, man. And we see this a lot where people say, oh, man, they got up to leave. And so she had to leave without you.
She had to leave.
And now being a parent, and my being a parent, that's one of the hardest sacrifices that a parent could make, man, is for, and especially to tell your child at a tender age, they probably don't understand why you're leaving. Yeah. And that's got to be one of the hardest things, bro.
And a mom is different. Like even with my daughter, she loves her mom on a whole nother level. I think moms are just different. That's your mom. You came out of the womb, she breastfed you. Yeah, there's nothing like it, right?
So when you get to New York, bro, and you get to the States, hip hop is like everywhere for you.
Well, hip hop was already dominating the airwaves in Belize as well. But definitely, I never forget, I came to Brooklyn, and what was dominating was Rakim. I Ain't No Joke.
Yeah, man. You said that the mic smoke.
And Big Daddy Kane. Those are the records that was hitting that year. It was 88. Time to set the record straight.
Yeah, man.
Ain't no half stepping.
Hey, man, were you a writer then? or did you just consume music? You know what I'm saying? Like, did you know you could do it, Shyne?
You know, when I was young, I got to thank my uncle, and I got to thank Ralph McDaniels, Video Music Box.
Yeah.
You know, that's when we get to see NWA, and we were just talking about DOC, and you know, the Funky Enough record that he did, which had the Caribbean patois. So as a Caribbean kid, you know, I was like, man, that's incredible. But my uncle, his name is Newton Mybet. He's a executive director of, you know, like president of a school right now. But he was the one that had the cassette tape, and he would always, you know, have the new tapes. So LL Cool J, I'm Bad. So, you know, I got to tell you, that's where Bad Boys really came from. And I did another record called Bad, I think sometime down the stretch. But LL was a big inspiration.
Oh, yeah. Same for me, bro.
For me, right? Like that energy, that velocity, it was incredible. My Uncle Newton. So we were poor. We grew up poor. You know, most immigrants from the Caribbean diaspora, when they come here, you know, it's a bunch of us, we live together. So it was my grandmother, God bless her soul, Esme, my aunt, God bless her soul, Erna, my mom, and my Uncle Newton. So my Uncle Newton, his room was the living room. And, you know, Ralph McDaniels come on like at 11 o'clock. So he's playing Video Music Box, and my mom is like, turn that off. You know, get out the house. But, you know, thanks to him. He was the music guy.
And you learning at that time. You soaking it in.
I'm taking his tape, and I'm listening to it. Yeah, so hip-hop.
Hey, man, when do you go from knowing that you could do it?
And then where I lived, Hawthorne, I lived on Hawthorne and Wingate, Crown Heights. And Winthrop Park used to have, you know, concerts every year during the summer. So everybody would come and perform. And you know, where our apartment was, I could stand right on the stoop and I could look at the concert.
So but as you looking at that, do you know that you soaking in something that's going to be connected with you for the rest of your life?
I didn't, you know, you admire, you idolize, but I wasn't thinking, I'm going to be a rapper.
Do you remember your first time putting like pen to paper or knowing that you could do it?
You know, I think I always loved music. So I was a music aficionado. I was always in love with music from young. And as I said, my first love was really dancehall. So there's a gentleman by the name of Shabba Ranks.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, the baritone, I knew all his records. And so with the baritone, they used to call me Shabba. and I can't forget Super Cat.
Yes, sir.
You know, those are my two favorites. And so, you know, in my Caribbean neighborhood, like where I grew up, they call it Little Haiti now. But where I grew up, Church Avenue, Flatbush, where I moved from Crown Heights, you know, everybody in Brooklyn, you know, is really dancehall. So it's hip-hop, but in the Caribbean communities, it's dancehall. You want to be a dancehall artist.
Is that what you wanted to do first?
So I really wanted to be a dancehall artist. I really wanted to chat. But after I got shot, when I was like 16 years old, you know, my mom was brokenhearted. She was having a nervous breakdown, and I promised her that, you know, I'd stay off the streets and I'd graduate high school and, you know, turn my life around. And so I started staying in the house, just consuming music. But again, Bob Marley, Terror Fabulous, you know, Chronic. I had a very eclectic pool of music. But it was at that point, you know, only built for Cuban links.
Yes, sir.
It was written. It was at that point, you know, Ready to Die, Reasonable Doubt. You know, those are the records, Doggy Style.
Yeah.
Those were the records that influenced me. And I really, you know, after having a near-death experience, I became fearless. I was already fearless, but I had zero fear, zero nerve.
Were you running around a lot earlier? You know what I'm saying? When you got shot,
listen,
were you in the streets?
Where I lived, there was nothing but the streets. So literally walking from, you know, your house to the train station is a walk through hell. You might die.
And did you get shot by somebody you knew?
People that I knew, yeah. People that
and so when you
section of Brooklyn. Yeah.
When you say you started, staying in the house, going to school, that's by design, though. You know what I'm saying? Like you were like, you knew that you had a different purpose.
Well, my mom.
Yeah.
As I said, the bond you have with your mom, it's like, what's next? Mm-hmm. Am I just gonna, just take everybody out and spend my entire life with this perpetual war, or am I just gonna do what I need to do to protect myself, but try to find an out? Mm-hmm. And I promised my mom that I'd find an out, and that's when I really started to take it serious.
And when you say taking it serious, man, even looking at your documentary, right? Even in the doc, everybody would say, "Oh man, Shyne was nice. Shyne was nice."
Yeah.
But at that point, did you know you were nice? Did you believe it?
I respect to a city ad school. I was going to a school in Manhattan. And I would always be in the classroom writing. I was interning at the Supreme Court, Civil Supreme Court in Manhattan, interning at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was a good escape to go from Brooklyn, Vietnam, because when I say Brooklyn, Vietnam, it was literally that. It was a war ground where I grew up. So all those experiences and, life almost being taken from you, music was, as you say, easy call, right? So for me, telling my truth, expressing myself, it just became my passion. I already loved music, and it was always a matter of expression. So it wasn't really, am I nice? It was, I'm the realest, like, my story needs to be told, and I'm the voice of the voiceless, and that's how I was really going about it.
With so much going on in New York already, and hip hop being already huge, bro, when do you feel like you got either that break?
Well, so again, after I got shot, I was still in high school. Mm-hmm. So it was like my last year of high school is when it really intensified. I never forget there was this young lady. I thought she was like the most beautiful young lady ever, definitely in that school. And so I used to walk her to class. I used to carry her books, everything. This is me after I got shot, tough guy. And I think like Nas came to pick her up one day in high school, right? And I was like, yeah, one day.
Yeah.
One day that's going to be me, right? And he came to pick her up, I think in like a 600 coupe. And so the first car that I got when I did my deal was a 600 four-door.
The Mercedes, the big body.
Listen to this, right? And so, like I said, I was like her, like, I was just carrying her books. And she was like, oh, yeah, you're nice. But, she's dealing with the big guys, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a high school kid. Yeah, I'm fly, Brooklyn style. But I'm taking the train. I got nothing to offer. I'm not in the streets peddling any narcotics. I'm, trying to turn my life around. And so I never saw her. But then I graduated. This was like 96. Graduated 97. Did my deal in 98. And I hadn't seen her since 96. And sure enough, one of the first persons I see when I got that S600 was her at a club. And I couldn't wait to like walk her outside because she probably couldn't even imagine. Yeah. There's no Twitter, there's no X, there's no social media, but yeah, I kind of diverted.
Right. But did she walk out?
Of course.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Choop.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Hey man, so how does Shyne get on? Like I know the backstory.
But yeah, so it intensified in high school. The first thing I did was get a bicycle from my cousin Ron Duke. God bless his soul. He passed away as well. And I started delivering messages because I made a promise to my mom. So no matter what, I'm not gonna go back on that promise. So I'm gonna get legitimate revenues. So I would ride through Manhattan, get run over by taxis,
and this is Manhattan before Uber.
Yeah,
that's why I told him how I used to sound. I used to love the lanes and
I get looked down by the beautiful women at the receptionist desk, and then I would ride back to Brooklyn, up the Brooklyn Bridge, and down the Brooklyn Bridge. And I'm a believer. At this level of my life, I'm a knower. I know the Creator. I have a solid relationship with the Creator, ups and downs. I make mistakes. I don't always listen to the wisdom that He gives me to this day. But I know that the Creator's intimately involved in my life and all of our lives, but it always depends on your awareness. So when I would come down the Brooklyn Bridge, I would come up with these raps like, remember I had already started battling in the bathroom and, in high school and writing raps, in the classroom. But when I would come down the Brooklyn Bridge, now this is like a year after I got shot, I would come up with these raps. And that's when I knew that I was that guy. At least I thought I was that guy, right?
Whose hand did it get into?
Well, so now I would chase down the street teams while, delivering messages. I would go into Def Jam mailroom, Sony mailroom. I would rap for anybody that would listen and tell them that, yo, I'm the nicest guy that you ever gonna hear.
And we got to paint a picture. At this time, man, it's like promo posters. There's vans that's
teams,
wrapped up with street teams and hip hop. Street teams was something.
Yeah. So I usually go get my hair cut on Fridays. And so this Friday, lock my bike up outside on the parking meter. And as I finish getting my hair cut, a gentleman is leaving. And something just told me to approach him, and I approached him, and that's a dangerous thing to do in Brooklyn, Vietnam. And so I approached him, and I said, listen, are you in the music industry? And he said, yeah. And I just hit him with a full clip, with extended clip. Lyrics, that is.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Lyrics, that is. A lyrical extended
right.
clip. Yes, just for clarity. And he was like, yo. Now, mind you, I already had the barbershop stamp of approval. And the barbershop is the most brutal place of entry.
No way.
Right? If you're trash, you might get beat up by the barbers for even having the audacity to waste their time by, spitting some garbage. And so my barber would always be telling me there was this one barber, he was like the biggest hater. And he was like, man, you nicer than all them guys. You belong, on TV. And so, so this guy took me to Don Pooh, Robert Cummings, big time entrepreneur, mogul now. He's, great example of standing the test of time. He was, in management with B.I.G., with Foxy Brown, and spit for him. He was like, oh my goodness, let's sign the deal. Took me to another guy by the name of Imani Haley, who's my guy, and everybody was just like, this kid is incredible. And that's where it really started, right? Then they took me to Mark Pitts. They took me to rap for Un Rivera. They took me to rap for Puff Daddy. I even rapped for Jay-Z. That's in my documentary. Yeah, like we were in a club called the Metronome.
Yeah.
And I was so full of myself. But again, that's hip hop. Hip hop started with plugging turntables into the light posts. Kool Herc from Jamaica, dancehall DJ. And, all we had was hope. And they said that we were a fad. They said that, that music, they dismissed our music.
Yeah, it's not going to last.
And now we are the most dominant form of music on planet Earth. So that's hip-hop. Hip-hop has a sense of bravado out of the necessity to survive. So it's not necessarily that you're so cocky or haughty. It's just that, listen, life is death, and life is hopeless. So you got to give yourself affirmation. You got to believe, because nobody believes in us. They sent COINTELPRO, they sent Oliver North, and they wanted to destroy us with narcotics. So yeah, that's that hip hop. So I thought, man, I didn't think there was anyone better than me.
Right. Can you explain the Jay-Z story?
Yeah. So the Jay-Z story. So fellow Brooklyn guy, we're there, me, Manny, Don Pooh. And I'm saying to Jay-Z, I'm like, listen, I'm the nicest person that you ever gonna hear. You know, I'll rap for you, I'll give you my tape, and if you don't like it, you could shoot me.
Right.
Like I was just.
Then you asked me if you had a gun. You had your gun on you?
Yeah. I was on one. And so what happened was I gave him the tape. He's probably looking at me like I was a lunatic. We're friends now. That's my guy, you know, great guy. Respect to him. And I gave him the tape. I never heard back from him. So me and Manny went to his apartment on 560 State Street. You hear him rap about it. That's in Brooklyn. And waited for him to come outside. So he comes outside, iceberg hat, iceberg sweats, you know, hops into his Range Rover. And that was the other car that I got, first car that I got as well. He hops into his Range Rover, and me and Manny run up on him, and like, you know, what do you think? He's like, yeah, it was all right. Drives off. I was like, okay. I see you, just like I saw the person that, you know,
right,
I took out of the club in the 600. And that's what actually happened. Jay-Z tried to sign me 2 times after that. Yeah.
So you get when things people start to hear and the names that you ran through,
yeah,
there becomes like this bidding war.
Yeah, but you know what happened, interestingly enough, so it starts August 97, like a month or 2 after I graduated high school. I was actually going to New York Technical College because, again, I was on the path of legitimacy, you know, law-abiding citizen, as I promised my mom. So I was actually going to school at night, delivering messages during the day. But when, you know, Don Pooh and all these guys came in the picture, I got my first check. But that was like a deal, a shopping deal. That wasn't like an actual deal. I didn't really understand that at the time. But then after like 6 months, nothing was happening. So like we rapped for everybody. Everybody was like, you're incredible. But the person that changed my life, I could really say, and God bless his soul, he passed away as well, is Chris Lighty.
Yeah, man.
Chris Lighty, I think it was like maybe December, invited me to his Def Jam offices, Violator Def Jam offices. And I pulled up, he put in a DAT tape, and it was by this new producer by the name of Swiss Beats. And I went in, and like, you know, he was falling off his chair. He was like, oh my goodness, you're not leaving here. We got to sign this deal. And then he took me into Lior's office, and it was the same thing. And so that really set everything on fire again, where everybody was like, we got to have this kid. And that's when Puff flew me to the first place that I went outside of New York ever, which was California, Los Angeles, California. They were out here, I think, for the Soul Train Awards. And so he flew me out here to sign the deal. And that's when it really happened. But he was staying in some mansion in Mulholland, and I was staying in the Beverly Hills Hotel. I went to rap for him. He and J-Lo were in the studio. I think the record plant came out. I hit him with another extended clip because I had already rapped for him, you know, but he was cool because, you know, he's like the Michael Jackson of music at the time. There was nobody bigger on the planet than Puff Daddy. And so I hit him when he came out the studio with another clip, and he was like, listen, there's nothing to talk about. Let's just sign the deal, right? Just tell your lawyer, we're sending the deal over now. Let's sign the deal. So he has a event at his estate. Russell Simmons, Leor Cohen, all the Def Jam guys come.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, but it's an event, right? So it's not like they just coming to grab me, but they're coming to grab me because at the event, they're like, yo, listen, what do you want? Just tell us what you want. And I'm running the numbers up because I've always been an astute, business-minded person, always asking the lawyers, so listen, you know, what's the market value? And then just pushing, right? What does this person got? What's the precedent? And you know, going from a kid with nothing, having to drink water to quell his hunger, watching my mom struggle, never even having my own bedroom. You know, I had nothing to lose, and I had an instinct for heavy negotiations. So I was like, I told them the most ridiculous things, and they said yes. And so I was like, I said to Puff, I said, listen, I'm just going to have a quick conversation with these guys. Just let them know, I'm going with you. And I never came back. I just came back to get my stuff, and I moved into the Peninsula. I actually took a drink at the Peninsula last night because it's very nostalgic for me, very sentimental. And then I stayed in the Peninsula for like 2 weeks at the cost of Def Jam, flew back with Def Jam, ready to sign a deal with Def Jam, going on shopping sprees, Iceberg store, 20 grand, going to John McNeil every day to, get money while we're waiting to close this deal. Now I'm living in the St. Regis. I wake up one day and I'm like, I call Mark Pitts. I say, yo, I got to do the deal with Puff. And again, divine guidance has always directed me. So people might say, due to everything that happened, did I regret that? And no, because he was the grand architect of the industry at the time. Like, there was no one, obviously, yeah, you got Dre, you got, people that are comparable. I wouldn't say.
But you got Chris Lighty and Lyrical and you know what I'm saying? Like, those are hard decisions to make.
Yeah, but Puff Daddy was Puff Daddy at the time.
Yeah, I got you.
Right? He was, there was nobody else. It was like the top 10 pop records he had, like, as a producer, as his artist.
Yeah.
There's nobody selling records like them. And just doing it on a planetary level to take hip hop to that pop superstar level like nobody else. And I felt I needed that information because I wasn't just there to get by or just to be a part of, but I would want to be that person because I was always very ambitious. So I didn't just want to be another artist. I would want to be an owner. I would want to have artists. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to, I was going to go into acting. I was going to do everything, like Tupac was one of my, idols growing up as well. So I wanted to do the movies. I wanted to do the raps. I wanted to do everything, the clothing, everything, the template that
and
people like Russell.
Like Puff and Bad Boy,
I mean, there was nobody even coming close. Everybody was in the dust.
You couldn't argue at that time.
Everybody was in the dust. And so, you could, hindsight is always 20/20 because right after that, Def Jam took over with, It's Dark and Hell is Hot and Hard Knock Life, and they never looked back. And they went on a run, and, Rough Riders, Rockefeller, Murder Inc.
Mm-hmm.
And they had quite a run, and then, Bad Boy went down. But the information that I got from Puff lasted me my entire life because I got to see a genius at work. I got to study the patterns of thought, of action, of discipline, of commitment, of dedication, of passion, of manifestation, of conviction, of that certitude, but the sacrifice that goes with the certitude, leaving the studio 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then, just believing because I'm here witnessing one of the greatest of all time doing it. And
were y'all side by side through your recordings or as soon as you get with Bad Boy?
Well, initially, again, Brooklyn kid from the streets. Nobody ever believed in me. A single parent household, abandoned as a child, mom struggling. To go from where I went from to the biggest deal for a new artist ever, I got like $1 million. I felt like I could walk on water. And that was good and problematic.
Right.
Because, as I said, I was ambitious. So I wasn't looking at Puff the way I instinctively looked at him. I started to, feel like, I'm like we're equals.
Yeah.
And we're not. He was the mentor, I was the protege, but I kind of let, that ego get the best of me when initially the divine instinct told me to go there so I could study and I could, graduate and get all the information. I lost my way. I was, knocking his chicks down. I was, You know, so we initially we weren't getting along. Like after I signed, it was like a strained relationship, you know, because I was just running.
You started believing
I was burning,
the hype.
I was burning the town down. And then when I went into the studio, the product wasn't sounding like what everybody signed up for because I wasn't focused. You know, I was popping Crusade.
Right.
As I said, I was
you got the biggest deal.
I was dating some of Puff's girls.
Right.
Like that's who I thought I was, you know. And that put a strain on everything because I wasn't playing the role of a protege. I was acting like I was Diddy, which was ridiculous.
Right.
But, you know, listen, the things that I accomplished up to that point were ridiculous and absurd. So, but it was very destructive, but I got it together and I'll never forget.
Hey, man, when you say you were dating his girl, there was it was something that I do remember. I saw in the documentary. They were like, man.
Yeah. I won't say which one.
It's in the doc though, right?
Yeah, it was one of his main.
Okay. Gosh. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Yeah, you like 18?
I was like 18 and 19.
Yeah. So you think you get the keys to everything.
I mean, with that deal.
And 18 years of age, bro. And then there's an 18-year, there's this bravado that come.
Yeah.
And it's like
ridiculous.
Man, and then you start believing every headline and every piece of hype times 10.
Yeah.
And I think that's what would happen to a lot of 18-year-olds.
But what saved me, you know, and I guess I could say, I think, you know, Brandy was one of the people that really helped me because, you know, I had a major crush on Brandy ever since I was sleeping on my mom's couch.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had moved into...
That was it. Brandy was dating somebody. That was it.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Allegedly, that was Mace's girlfriend.
Yeah. And Mace is the big dog on Bad Boy. Got you.
But so see, not just Mace. I was on Diddy's. I was on Puff Daddy's. One of his main girls as well. Like I was a wild boy.
Yeah, you were.
But listen, so
and you had that good hair. No,
but there was another young lady, you know, sold a couple million records that I was seeing at the same time as Brandy. And they got into an argument, right? And it was like the end of the year. And so Brandy called me and, you know, I don't know what I said to her, but she was like, you know, like, who do you think you are? You haven't sold one record.
Right.
Like, you know, put some bass in your voice when you're talking to me. Like, don't disrespect me. Like, I'm who I am. Like, who are you? What did you do? Like, yeah, you know, you got a little 600 Range Rover, you know, platinum Rolex, Audemars Piguet, but what have you done exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Right.
Enlighten me. Like, no, like that was
That's
the
real
gist.
talk.
That was the gist of what she said. But I needed that because like that knocked the wind out of me. And I was like, you know what? She's right. Because I think we're all, you know, a bit delusional.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, especially as creatives, and the key is to turn the delusion into reality. But, you know, I'm a very pragmatic person by the grace of God. I'm sober. I look at it and I could say, nah, even for myself. But I was in a cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So she took me out of that cloud and back to, you know, sobriety and pragmatism. And I was like, you know what, she's right. Because I was trying to analyze it to see how I could come back. And I was like, nah, just having a vehicle and just having a watch is not what I'm here for. I'm here so that I could, you know, be a mogul and that I could, you know, sell millions of records and have an impact, a planetary impact. And I'm not really doing that right now because she's right. I don't have a hit record out. I don't have a hit album out. So, like, what am I doing?
So you were living everything without the actual material.
Listen, I had a life like, you know, I sold millions of records. So I was living that life for the entire 98. I did my deal in March. And it wasn't until that conversation with her, you know, that really, and then the other girl, I think she let me have it as well. but it really put me in a position where I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to just be, someone with money, someone, who was fly. I came here to make my mark. I came here, to put out #1 records and to have an impact. And I didn't like the feeling how she talked down to me, and she was right. So it was like, okay, get your weight up. Let me go sell some records and double back, spin the block on her.
Yeah.
Which thank God I was able to do, not as much as her, but
Right.
I was able to put out 2 classic albums.
When you do
now
like
99, so I lock in 99. So after the ball drops, I find Puff, and I'm like, yo, I'm here for the Holy Grail. I'm ready.
Did he kind of leave you? Because you said I find Puff.
Well, yeah.
Did he kind of leave you?
Yeah, Puff is Puff. Like,
right.
he's living his life. Like, and I was living my life thinking that, somehow we were on par, which was, ridiculous. And so I found him and said, listen, I'm back as a protege. That's what I came here for, ready to work. And that's how we got the Bad Boys record. We got that in the Hamptons, where he played the Grace Jones beat, respect to Easy LP. And he was like, if you could take care of this right here, you're gone. It's going to be #1. And he even came up with Barrington Levy's part.
Yeah, man.
Because remember, he had did Super Cat and B.I.G.
Yeah,
on
man.
the Dolly My Baby remix.
Yes, sir.
Right? So 99, and then unfortunately, everything happened in the club because now Bad Boy, the record Bad Boy, the song Bad Boy, the second verse was supposed to be for Puff. Minx dragging on the floor, banging on you, second to Christ, scientists examining for flaws. That was supposed to be his verse. And we were supposed to shoot the video. But situation happened in Club New York, and that's when we separated.
There was no Bad Boys video?
No, but after we separated in 99 and 2000, I'm on my own.
Gotcha.
So the Bad Boys video, yes, there's a Bad Boys video with me and Barrington Levy, but Puff is not on the record anymore.
Right.
It's just Shyne. I'm on my own, right? I'm on my own.
Man, bro, you just gave me such a rewind right now.
Yeah.
Because even when I see the video, like, because the time, I'm thinking like, nah, y'all took off, but I didn't know that Puff was supposed to have been the second verse.
Supposed to be the second
and then
verse,
now when I'm telling you, when you think about the video, you guys shot the video in Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
You and Barrington Levy.
He wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Because, when the situation happened, I guess through advice from his lawyers, I don't know what, his position was like, man, I don't have anything to do with that guy. They didn't even want me on the record label. It was because of Wolf, God bless his soul, who insisted, that my album had to come out and they had to give me the opportunity for me to finish materializing my dream. But they were like, listen, you're on your own. And the records just kept getting better and better.
Right.
One of the first records I did was with Nasheem Merrick, The Life. And when they heard The Life, they were like, oh my goodness.
But are you
but
you recording
Puff still
this?
didn't want to be close to me because of the case.
And you're recording this with everything over your head
all
still,
of
right?
This, yes.
All right, so Shyne, take me to around the night and the night of the club situation.
Yeah.
And because at one point, Diddy, Puff is dating Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
The world is amazing for you at this moment. You know what I'm saying? You can see what your future's supposed to be. You guys go out, and y'all just having a regular good time in this VIP area of the club.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, the irony of karma, because remember, 98, I was, burning down the town. But then in 99, I had totally reformed and, on the treadmill, not popping the crystals, just focused on work, just wanting to be the great artist that I had the potential to be. So I wasn't into any of that. But I had gotten into an altercation maybe a month before Club New York, where Daddy's house was shot up. while I was going into the studio.
And Daddy's house is the studio.
Yeah. And at that point, that's when I started carrying a weapon for protection. So I was very concerned for my safety because remember, I'd already been shot.
Right.
And so that triggered my post-traumatic stress syndrome. And nonetheless, I'm cool. He comes back from the Hamptons. He's like, listen, everybody meet us at Club New York. But, you know, it's been like 30 days since Daddy's house was shot up, and anything can happen at any time. Because while I left Brooklyn, Vietnam, and I thought I escaped the battlefield and was in La La Land in hip-hop, you know, you had elements, you had the gangster elements still prevalent. And, you know, Puff, I was trying to leave. Puff was trying to project that facade, which is a very dangerous projection. Right? So I'm trying to get away from that. I don't want anything to do with that. But, you know, that's how he was moving. And when the studio got shot up, it triggered my trauma. So I'm like, oh man, well, I guess I'm still in Brooklyn and I got to do what I got to do. Nonetheless, when we were in Club New York, the gentleman that he ended up having an altercation with were my friends from Brooklyn. I saw them, you know, like, yeah, Shyne, you know, we love you, we're so proud of you. But, you know, those are hitters, as they would say. You know, those are guys that get busy in the streets. But I didn't have any problem with them.
Right.
But, you know, I'm my brother's keeper. I'm loyal. So when Puff started arguing with them, I'm standing my ground with him. And then they're like, Shyne, you gonna take his side over Brooklyn? You want it too, you could get it too. And then I saw somebody, you know, they were threatening, I'm gonna kill you, we're gonna pop your head off too. And I saw someone reach for a weapon, and I defended myself and my friends.
When you fire off, and there's more to it that we'll get to, but when you see what you see in Shyne, you shoot, right?
Yeah.
What happens, right? And I'm sure it's at a club, and they said it was a small VIP area. Everybody, it's chaotic.
Well, this is where we're walking out,
right?
You know, but I don't, you know, I don't live in that space for the purpose of your audience and, you know, giving them some information, but to really replay that in my mind, I don't necessarily do it. So I wouldn't even want to remember what was happening at that moment because I'm so far removed from it. But I could give you the surface of it, which is, you know, defending myself. And, you know, that was the only reason I fired a weapon, because I thought that my life and my friends' lives were at stake.
When did you know it's getting extremely serious?
When the person pulled out the weapon.
I'm talking about even after. When do you know, like, okay, this shit is, like, this is getting bad?
You know, obviously, my position was try by 12 rather than carry by 6. So I'm happy to be alive because I know those guys. And all it takes is a second, you know, for them to act first. And, you know, a few of us could have been gone. And we see it every day. We see, you know, people, you know, no matter how famous they are, you know, lose their lives. So don't think it can't happen. So for me, I was happy to be alive, but definitely not wanting to be in that position. And again, thanks to my guy, Manny, who was the one that bailed me out. You know, obviously, I felt remorse for anybody that got injured, but I wasn't the only one shooting. There were a bunch of people shooting that night. And I was shooting in self-defense. And ultimately, we found out where the victim is saying that Puff shot her.
Right.
I didn't say that. That's what she said.
You never said that, bro. Like, for decades, though.
And I still maintain my position. I was defending myself. I didn't see what anybody else was doing.
At any time, bro, did you? And I can ask this with knowing the answer, Shyne. Did you had to feel abandoned?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I'll be honest with you. You know, happy birthday to Snoop. a legendary icon. You know, you saw when we were at his birthday, you saw the love.
The people? Oh, yeah.
From the people. And I'm talking, you know, ladies and gangsters, you know, civilians, regular people, artists, famous people. And that's all because of respect. You can't buy respect. No matter how much money you have, no matter how many albums you sell, no matter how much fame you have, you can't buy that kind of respect that I have. We're like grown men, you know, and, you know, even the youngsters. You introduced me to one of the youngsters.
Harris Martin.
And he was like,
producer, yeah.
You know, on an entirely different level. Like, listen, I was talking to Idi Amin, you know, and, you know, he was like, man, you know, I just love, you know, what you're doing with your life right now and how, you know, you always represent Belize and what you're doing for your country as a leader. And I'm like, yeah, this is what Tupac would have wanted. Tupac would have wanted us to go from rappers and moguls to presidents and prime ministers and get involved in the legislative process so that we can impact policy. He was like, yeah, that's why I love it so much. So for me, I don't live in that space of abandon. I live in a space of triumph, space of a victor. Like, this is my victory parade right now. I've been going on the victory parade for a while because I've done so many incredible things, and not just for me, but for hip hop. My success I'm the first person anywhere on planet Earth to go from a Grammy Award-winning, multi-platinum selling artist to not just a member of any House of Representatives. No other rapper has done that. No one from the hip-hop community. But I was the opposition leader of the House of Representatives. I'm still the leader of the opposition party. You know, my term comes to an end November 30th. That, for hip-hop, that's great. That's what we wanted. We got the Baracks and other people elected. You know, some might even say President Trump is a hip-hop president back in the day. You know,
yeah, not now.
Yeah.
He used to be in the club.
Yeah, he used to be with Russell Simmons and, you know, be a part of the hip hop culture. But the point I'm making is what I've accomplished, being buried alive, which is what my second album is. That's why I called it Buried Alive, because I was literally in the cemetery. You know, that's what being incarcerated, held in captivity could be. But thank God I was able to, you know, to live.
And Shyne, I do want to respectfully walk through some of these motions too, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because and the reason why I asked about abandonment, like, because you didn't get bailed out immediately.
No. I was calling the studio every day. I was calling Daddy's house, you know, trying to get in touch with Puff. I couldn't get in touch with Puff. I couldn't get in touch with anybody. And it was Imani Haley, you know, my guy, that bailed me out.
Did you know what that was when you couldn't get Puff or anybody on the phone? You knew it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, God bless Wolf. Wolf was the bridge. You know, Wolf was the person to make sure that everything was conducted with honor and integrity and ethics.
Right.
And
how long before you came home from the initial night and
I think it was bail? Probably like a few days.
Right.
But a few days is a lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? So imagine 10 years. And I think that's what, maybe not a lot of people, but sometimes people get lost because I'm such a warrior. I'm fortunate to be a real wartime commander-in-chief. So I don't cry about my wounds.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I never did the documentary, because the people wanted to do a documentary about Puff and me being a victim. I wanted to do a documentary about me being a warrior and
honorable
and being honorable, and because I was always honorable, you know, before I got to the House of Representatives. And as time went on, everything fell into place where when you look at my documentary, actually I was kind of upset with the documentary initially because I felt it spent too much time talking about Club New York. And I had so much more to talk about as far as my political life and, you know, the processes of how I transitioned Israel and, you know.
I thought and you probably lived more of the hours and more of the like what's on the cutting room floor kind of thing. But when I watched the documentary, I thought that it was like such a great balance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So respect to them. I'll give Marcus Clark. He's the director. You know, Disney, Anscape. I give them the credit. I just shared.
Right. Yeah.
I shared. And even as you said, you know, you wanted to walk through those emotions. It was the same thing with them. It was difficult because I don't live in that space because it's traumatic. As I said, I don't cry about my wounds. You know, I keep going because the war is still being fought. And so now I'm fighting a different battle, which is for Belize, which is to, you know, rid Belize of those political leaders that want to, you know, suck the blood of the people and extract all the wealth for them and their families and their cronies. And so I have different things I need to focus on. So I can't focus on my pain. So it's difficult for me to go into those pockets and really live there because then it becomes traumatic. And I don't want to live there. I want to live in positivity. I want to live.
But that takes time too, though, right?
It took a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, because, and the reason why I ask is because I'm pretty sure as a human being, there's anger.
Yeah, for my entire incarceration, you know, I had a crusade against Puff, and you know, every opportunity I get, I'd tell everybody, you know, what I thought about him as far as calling witnesses to testify against me. I call it dry snitching back in those days, and you know, what a terrible person I thought he was. But you have to move on.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just at the moment too, bro. And it take a lot of growth.
Yeah,
and I don't think a lot of us got that growth in us.
Yeah, it just became too heavy.
Right. Okay.
The shackles of malice and grudge. Yeah. And vengeance.
And you ever heard when somebody say, "Man, that's like you drinking the poison and expecting somebody else to die"?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
And it's cancerous to hold on to that. Doesn't mean you know, that you necessarily forget.
Right.
But forgiveness is something that brings you closer to your
Creator. And the forgiveness is for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about him.
Right.
It's about me moving on and asking God, because, you know, I was never compensated. I was never, you know, given. Imagine if I would have cooperated with the authorities, he would have went to jail. I'd have never got deported. I would have been able to stay in the United States and continue my career, and I may have become the billionaire. I definitely would have, you know, been making movies, been, you know, doing clothing, been doing everything that we see, you know, other icons have gone on to do. He stole that from me, you know, by his actions. It's not as if he was fighting with me to make sure that we all got freedom. He was fighting to make sure that I went down and he went free. And he never said, listen, man, you know, I'm worth $1 billion. Because it's not about the money.
Right.
It's about the principle of it, right? You know, I lost everything for standing up for you. And he never said, listen, here's $1 million, here's $2 million, here's nothing, right? But then what I said is, you know what? I'm not going to make the relationship about that. I'm going to make it about my Creator finding a way for me to get that on my own, because I take all of that. That's a part of my credit score.
Mm-hmm.
So I take that credit score to the architect of the universe and I say, listen, you know what I've done, how I've sacrificed, what I've lost. You know, just please put me in a position where I could get that on my own and not have to rely on anyone. And so the relationship with him ended up being, listen, he's one of the most famous people on planet Earth. And if I could use that for the benefit of promoting Belize and marketing Paradise Belize, you know, I hope we get a chance to talk about how beautiful Belize is and how everybody has to visit Belize. And I invite all of you, give you a standing invitation to make sure you come to Belize. And so having an enemy rather than having someone who could be an ambassador for Belize, who could be someone that promotes and helps me market Belize, to me, strategically, I said, listen, it doesn't make sense to hold on to the anger, hold on to the malice, and it's not serving my bigger purpose, which is to drive tremendous traffic to Belize and do whatever we can to help the people of Belize. And that was the basis of the most recent relationship. So when he called me and asked me to perform at the BET Awards.
Yeah, that was 2022.
2022, right? I didn't want to do it. You know, I wasn't chasing the hype. I wasn't chasing a ghost. I was focused on policy, public sector management, you know, how to hold the government of Belize accountable and deal with solutions, because some political leaders and parties, they tell you everything wrong that the government is doing, but they don't tell you what their solutions are. And it takes a lot of studying, a lot of, you know, analysis of the data to ensure that you come up with solutions that are not farcical, that are not just rhetoric, but solutions that can actually be implemented. So I spent all of my time doing that, and also building a relationship with the people of Belize that one day they would have trusted me to be their prime minister. I didn't want to send them mixed signals that I was still trying to be a rapper.
Right.
Right? I felt, you know, I was actually offended when he asked me to come and rap. I was like, well, when he first asked me, I was like, oh, you want me to like introduce you on stage? You want me to say, you know, you want me to give you the award? He's like, no, I want you to perform. Like, perform. Like, I'm retired. I'm the next prime minister of Belize. Like, it's not what I do. And you know, he's a very convincing gentleman. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? It has to be all about Belize, though.
Yeah.
And that's why you see that the biggest flag,
yep,
biggest flag ever.
And he's even going, Belize,
yes,
Belize.
Exactly, because I made that a part of it, and then I changed the entire first verse of Bad Boys and inserted Belize, and I end the record with Belize. So it was worthwhile. And that was the basis of the relationship. You know, he had given a scholarship. He had started a scholarship program for students in Belize as well with Howard, because remember he had the foundation with Howard, and so that's how I was looking at it. How, you know, people can help Belize, and then when the situation, when things started falling apart for him, interestingly enough, all the American media kept reaching out to me, but I wasn't interested in urinating on someone's grave. I wasn't interested in basking in someone's demise. So I rejected all interviews, but cynical journalists, this one particular journalist, I won't say his name, I want to give him any recognition, but there's one particular journalist in Belize, you know, who obsessively hates everything Shyne. And so he tried to tie me into what was happening to Puff, and I'm like, I was incarcerated because of him. What do I have to do with that? And so I had to explain, and then when you explain, there's certain sound bites, and then the woman that was injured, one of the victims, then she came out and she was like, Puff shot me, it wasn't Shyne. And I was like, well, you know, I've been telling you that, you know, I wasn't the one that shot anybody. That was never proven, and now all these years later, she admits that it was Puff.
I remember even in the documentary, you had to come and take the seat again. It seemed like the doc was damn near over.
Yeah.
And then this breaks.
Yeah.
And they see you. We see you walk back into, you know, into the chair.
Yeah.
And it's wild, man, because if I felt like, you know, my career was taken, certain things was, you know, that I felt was like right around the corner. I didn't get bailed out. We didn't go. We weren't co-Ds together.
Yeah.
You didn't pay. Maybe you didn't pay for my loan. Whatever it may be, bro. Yeah. Like, it take a different individual to say, you know, I don't know what I would have done as far as like, hey, I didn't. You just say I didn't. Yeah, you didn't say I didn't. He did.
Yeah, I refused to cooperate. The district attorney wanted me specifically to cooperate and say that it was him that did it, and I refused.
How long were you incarcerated for, and what were the ages?
He got sentenced 10 years.
Yeah.
And did you get locked up at, what, 19, 20?
About 20 years old, yeah.
8.5 on a 10-year sentence.
Yeah.
And at this time, bro, you're looking at hip-hop.
Oh, man. You know, it was inspiring and stressful at the same time. You know, I'm looking at the miracle of 50 Cent, you know, and that's why I always tell people I embody hip hop. Hip hop is resilient. It's not just me. I'm a child of hip hop because like all the things that are not supposed to happen always happen for hip hop. Like you look at 50 Cent, he try to assassinate him. You know, God bless Irv, you know, he was a friend of mine, but you know, they had their situation and he was blackballed, and then here comes Dr. Dre, and they created, you know, one of the greatest albums ever, and you know, a few great albums in an entire movement, which is always beneficial for hip hop, and that's one of the reasons why.
And he did what you were saying too, though, the movies,
everything. But yeah, so I was watching all of that happen. You know, I'm watching Jay-Z just go, you know, higher and higher. I'm watching the game. I'll never forget another Manny story. Manny called me for a record, and Dr. Dre called me for a record. Dre calls for the record for the game. He's like, you know, I got this new artist, and you know, we want you to do a record with him. And then Manny's like, you know, well, I got my new artist, Keisha Cole. I want you to do a record with her. And I had to go with Manny over Dre in the game because, you know, Manny, that's my guy. That's the guy that bailed me out. That's the guy when, you know, I was in hell, you know. Yeah. So it was interesting watching all of that. But then like even the game, even though, you know, we had our differences, you know, respect to Kendrick Lamar, by the way, I was totally off on that one because yeah.
I don't remember.
I think you had the game on. You in the documentary.
I'm in the documentary.
But that's what me. But that's what me in the game. That's why me in the game had it out because I was getting ready to say that, you know, even with the documentary, the Games album, he's talking about Shyne, right? So part of my incarceration, why I say it was inspiring, because all of these incredible artists that are, you know, leaving the stratosphere, they're all paying homage to Shyne.
Right.
Like even 50, he wanted to sign me, right? Shyne Money XL reached out like, listen, we want to sign you to G Unit at the pinnacle of G Unit. Murder Inc. wanted to sign me. Jay-Z wanted to sign me while I was incarcerated. And I put out the #1 album while I was incarcerated, Godfather Buried Alive, because I did it on my own. I went with Def Jam and did my own joint venture. But yeah, it was inspiring that I was getting so much respect from my peers, new and old. And it was also devastating because I knew I could be out there. Like I remember Keisha Cole and Fat Joe, you know, respect to my guy Fat Joe, DJ Khaled. I remember Fat Joe coming to visit me regularly in prison. Jay-Z would come. That's when the Maybach first came out. He came on Rikers Island with the Maybach. Everybody thought it was a spaceship.
Right.
I remember though Fat Joe and Keisha Cole performing on Rikers Island with me for the inmates, right? So yeah, it was tough, man, like it's hell. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. That's why whenever, you know, people ask me as far as the current things that are happening, I don't wish that for anyone.
Right.
I don't wish that for anyone. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. Yeah.
Damn, that's different.
Yeah, it's hell.
And but you know what that is too, Shyne Pole? That's a lot of growth. And that's a lot of growth and through every emotion though.
Amen.
That we didn't get a chance to see. You know what I'm saying? Like we could say free Shyne, we could say damn Shyne being gone. But that's every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year of you having to either go through every emotion of healing, being upset, missing birthday, with all that shit that and then on the professional level, seeing other things. But then on that life level too, bro, it's crazy because some of the worst things that you can do if you let yourself live there is what would have been. Yeah. And that's why when my mom passing and all that kind of stuff, right? I don't get caught up in, oh man, if I would have, could have, should have, you know, or if I had, you know, if I got the time that I got. Yeah. You know, even when you think about decisions, people say, man, I wish I would have bought more of this. I wish I would have bought, you know, more business, but you didn't. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get caught up in, but at some point you had to lay your head in that too before you shake that off.
Yeah, it was tough, and then you have relapses.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You get triggered. But you know, a lot of praying. I'm a very spiritual person. You know, I practice Hebrew, Israelite, Jewish, Judaic, practices. Not necessarily a religious person, you know, but you know, I read my Psalms every day, and you know, I pray 7 times a day. You know, a relationship with your Creator is the single most important thing that you can have, because this planet is rough, it's brutal, and it's meant to be.
Right.
Because as with everything, when you look at all the people in the stands, and either you're standing at the home plate, or you know, you just shot the 3-pointer, or you just scored the touchdown. That's what we all live for. We all live to overcome the competitor, to overcome the adversary. We all live to go through hell to get to heaven, because there's nothing more exhilarating than defeating your opponent. And life is created where you will have a perpetual opponent. And it's just a matter of you having the guidance and the game plan and the strategy and the discipline, determination to overcome your opponent. Because what would life be if we just walked from the 99-yard line to the goal, and there was nobody there to stop us? What would life be, you know, if you're just shooting the basketball by yourself?
And what would that feel like when you did cross the goalpost?
What would it feel like?
Yeah.
Right? But it feels great knowing that you know, they're talking crazy, saying you're gonna take your head off, and then they try to take your head off, and you're dodging, and you know, you're running over people. That's life. When you know, Vladdy took out Aaron Judd and sent the Yankees home, and you know, now it's the Blue Jays, you know, versus
the Dodgers.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was here last year for the World Series when the Dodgers sent Aaron Judd home.
Hey, man.
I don't know what's going on with my Yankees, man.
Isn't it easier to say, fuck Puff, fuck this, fuck that? You don't understand? That seems easier.
That's not who I am. You gotta remember, I'm going to be 47 next year.
Yeah. Well, you have a birthday coming, right?
November 8th.
Yeah.
That's not who I am. I did that already. I did that when I was 20 years old, when I was 21 years old.
There's a place for it.
Like if you didn't bring this up, I'd have never talked about it. We'd be talking about Belize.
And we are.
And Dan Griga. You know, I did some press the other day, and I was talking about my places that I love in Belize, and I didn't say Dan Griga, because you know, I'm a Garifuna. I have Garifuna heritage. My great-grandmother, my great-grandmother and my grandmother are Garifuna from Honduras. But you know, OT Genesis.
Yeah.
My little brother.
Yeah, man.
He's Belizean.
Yeah.
He's a Garifuna, and so you know, he told me he's coming to Belize for our Garifuna Settlement Day. But yeah, I did it. I did it when I was younger. I had that stage and that phase, and life is about evolution. Life is about growth. We don't, you know, soon we're going to be driving cars that are aerodynamic. That's going to happen.
Yeah, we see it. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, I see cars right now that drive themselves.
Hell yeah.
And
I move out the way of them Waymos, though.
Yeah.
I'm good for right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a little too OG to just jump in at first.
Right? You look at AI. It's about evolution. It's gonna keep evolving, whether you want it to or not. And so either you become a dinosaur,
right,
or you evolve. And I'm about constant evolution. And listen, I make terrible mistakes, as I said. God has forgiven me. I need to forgive people. I need to forgive myself, and I need to move on. I want to be successful. If it was up to me, if God said, "Listen, you know, does Puff spend the 5 years in prison, or do you get $1 billion? Give me the $1 billion. I don't want him to be in jail. I don't want him to go through what I went through. What is that going to do for me?" Right? That's not going to help me help my people in Belize. That's not going to help me take care of all those people that, you know, I could educate. You know, hopefully my tour goes well, because we got to talk about my 25th anniversary tour and, you know, the TV series and all these projects that I'm doing. I just want to be successful. And nobody's failure is going to make me successful. We can all be successful without any pain and any suffering from anyone in order for my success to come to fruition.
On your end, is it karma?
You know, I don't even live in that space. It doesn't matter what it is to me because I don't want it to be that. I want it to be that I am successful in everything that I am doing. I don't wish bad on anyone, right? So I wouldn't even want to contemplate what it is because that's not what I want it to be. I just want to be successful. It's not like I'm sitting here like, yeah, one day and then the day came and I'm like, yeah. No, I moved on. And when I said I moved on, I moved on, right? But now at the same time, like I told you, you had cynical people and sinister people that wanted to tie me to that. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm over here trying to be the prime minister. I have nothing to do with that, right?
So when you get deported, everything at the time is the USA, and you get deported. But out of the deportation, bro, were you forced to turn your life around? And then I know your family is in politics. What made Shyne bad boys, that's gangster? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I had already turned my life around. This is the thing.
Okay.
Through my incarceration, I didn't waste time. That's why I was able to put out a #1 album. Excuse me. And I was able to survive and thrive throughout my incarceration because I'd already turned my life around. I was practicing, Judaic values, keeping the Shabbat, eating kosher. That's what I did to be able to survive, practicing the laws of Moses. So I've been doing that for 8.5 years.
Okay.
And so there was already that turn. Thank you. There was already that turn. And getting out, it was just a matter because everybody changes when they're, well, at least most people change when they're incarcerated, but then when they get out,
different.
They don't keep the same energy.
Right.
So for me, it was about keeping the same energy. And even I had a little relapse when I came out because when I came out, I was arguing, I was attacking 50, I was attacking Drake, I was attacking Diddy, I was attacking everybody. And that's not what, I had agreed with the creator. I didn't agree that I was going to come out with that Tupac energy because we saw how that ended up, right? So I think maybe that's why I lost my voice. And so while I was in Mexico City recording, we had just finished recording some music and shooting a video, and it was on the eve of Rosh Hashanah. And so every year while I was incarcerated for 8.5 years, I would say next year in Jerusalem. So why not go to Jerusalem? So I hopped on a flight, packed a bag, went to Jerusalem for Rosh Hashanah, and I never came back.
And you stayed over there for years?
Left all my stuff in the St. Regis Hotel. They ended up giving away everything because when the owner of the place was trying to get in touch with me, he couldn't find me. But I studied there for like 2 years. And that was another part of my journey. But that was a part of my integrity. When I was in hell, and I was praying, to the God of Moses and David, and because whether you're Muslim or you're a Jew, it's the same books, right? The Quran and the Torah is the same thing. One is talking about Musa, one is talking about Moses. One is talking about Yusuf, one is talking about Joseph. One is talking about Dawood, one is talking about David. It's the same people, right? It's just, they just have different versions of how they communicate to the Creator. But everybody changes when they're going through the hellfire, but then when they get to safety, like, yeah, well, back at it, right?
Back in the game.
That's not me. I'm, the same way I was loyal to Puff and I was prepared to sacrifice, and not necessarily loyal to him, but loyal to my integrity, loyal to my principles, loyal to, I grew up in Brooklyn, Vietnam, and this is how you conduct yourself. You don't get your friends in trouble, to get yourself out of trouble. And if you're not a civilian and a law-abiding citizen, then you don't get a pass because, this is what you signed up for. Consequences have come. Deal with the consequences. I know today that doesn't really exist in the culture. Everybody's telling, but, that's their business. But so for me, making sure that I completed the journey of reforming myself and rehabilitating myself, and the ultimate redemption was an ongoing process that I stayed committed to. Regardless of a relapse here and a relapse there, I was committed to, because it's a journey. But being held in captivity is one part of the journey. When you're released, that's really the completion of the journey. And everything that you've seen happen for me was a 23-year journey, because it was 10 years incarcerated, 13 years deported before I got elected to the House of Representatives. And then, I was leader of the opposition in the House, and then I started coming to the States as a diplomat, as, a leader of my country, right? And so that took 23 years for you to see that ultimate redemption from that ultimate reformation, right? Doesn't mean I'm perfect,
right?
But, I've come a long way.
Just being with you, being out with you, and seeing the respect level too. You know what I'm saying? Like people were gravitating towards you. Or even the people that, like, it was one person that we ran into, right? And I was like, oh, such and such Shyne. And it was like, oh, hey, yeah, they did one of these. Like, I was like, oh, man, yeah, Shyne. They was like, oh, yeah, hey, And then I was like, Then I leaned back into the person's ear. I was like, hey, man, that Shyne such and such. No! Yeah, boy! So I'm pretty sure I know who I'm talking about. Shyne! What up, G? What up, son? Like, yeah. And even Shyne was like, yeah, I kind of figured you to know it was me. But that right there, too, bro, is we understand the political side, what's going down, the beautiful things that you're doing for Belize. Even when we were standing there talking, anybody that you talk to, they were like, hey, what's up, Shyne? You're like, yeah, you need to come to Belize.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
But you represent Belize so well, man.
Amen.
But also, aside from that, when we think about Shyne, we think about Shyne as an artist, too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when we think about 25 years since the debut of Shyne, the album.
Yeah.
Where is Shyne at as a entertainer?
Well, I'm returning to the stage.
Yeah, man.
I lost my seat in the House of Representatives earlier this year. And as I told you, my term as the political leader of the opposition party comes to an end November 30th of this year. So it gives me a great space to return to the stage.
And you're a different individual, because even when you said, because you told me that night, you was like, yeah, I lost my seat. Then when I looked into it, you didn't just lose your seat. You know what I'm saying? It was still some controversy there, but
there was some fraud,
but you don't say nothing like that.
There was some
because I'd be like, man, it was some fraud, man.
We actually
I would lead on that.
Yeah, we actually went to court yesterday. Before the high court, we had several civil litigations, and so I took the government to court because of that, because of what they did. They participated in fraud by issuing red, because when you're voting on the ballot, every political party is supposed to have a different color. And every political party is only supposed to have one official candidate for a particular constituency. And what happened is we had a civil war within the United Democratic Party, and the people that were fraudulently claiming to be the leader and claiming to have the authority put forward their own candidates.
Oh.
And the government of Belize, that's what they would want, right? The political party that runs the current government, they want that. They wanted the confusion, but it was illegal, because the Constitution of Belize says that the Elections and Boundaries Commission is supposed to give distinctive colors to the political parties, but they can only be one party. They can only be one UDP.
Gotcha.
You can't have two UDP leaders and two UDP candidates for a particular constituency. So that's how I lost my seat. But that's neither here nor there. We'll let the judiciary take care of that. I will be pursuing my seat very shortly, because there's a constitutional provision that allows for a recall. So I'll be attempting to recall that area representative that stole my seat. If the judge doesn't give me justice, we'll take it to the Court of Appeals. We'll take it to the Supreme Court. But as I said, once that happened, I had conversations with a few close people, Stephen Victor, Steve-O, a few of my close friends, Manny, Imani Haley, as to, what's the next step. I was thinking, it's 25th anniversary, what better time? I've been holding myself away from the stage for so long. What better time? And it would be a curated couture experience. So it's not as if I'm going to be performing for forever. I'm going to go out to celebrate the 25th anniversary. I'll probably go out and do the Godfather Buried Alive album when that comes out, when that anniversary comes around. And then I have 3 albums that I'm going to do. The Honorable Shyne album, an album for the Bio TV series, and an album for the motion picture. And then I'll go back completely focused on politics. Damn. So I'm just going to take this break, and then, I'll do some, Defiant Records, and part of everything we do at Warner Music Group is about giving back to communities. So being in the States, working, speaking at universities and doing what I can to inspire people, to learn from their mistakes, to not make the mistakes that I've made. So, we're looking at that as well. So we definitely want to have the next couple of years giving the people what they've been missing so long, which is, Shyne performing. I never performed here. I never performed in California.
And you were saying you never performed in California, not even in a...
I think I performed, no, I performed in Oakland.
Really?
I think...
But even
I think
that
I did a club.
I
think I did a club in Oakland.
That's crazy that you I think.
Yeah. It's 20.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? And what's wild about it too, bro, is that if there was a certain thing like Shyne as an artist was on pause, it seemed like you could just take the pause off and you right back in place. How are you lyrically though? Like pen wise and everything.
Well, you saw what I did with that first verse of the Bad Boy.
Yeah.
I did that.
And your mic was on too, though.
That was live.
Yeah.
Not like some other people, but
right.
That was live. That was
man.
live, right?
Yeah.
And I don't write. I just.
Oh, you do that?
Yeah.
It's the hit.
So I came up with that amended version of the first verse when I got to LA. Like I started thinking about it because I knew I couldn't rap at that time. Holding the office that I held. And even now, when I perform, I let the audience say the curse words.
Really?
I gotta, I've made it to another level as statesman and leader of the country, and I don't want to compromise that, but I think we could have a balance where the audience can participate,
right,
and they can celebrate the 25th anniversary of that album
and celebrate who you are too, though.
Exactly, because I'm gonna have my tuxedo on or my suit and tie when I'm performing. But again, Rakim did that, and Eric B for president.
Why was it important for you to come out with Diddy that night, right? In your suit.
Because that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's who I am, right? That's who I am, and it doesn't change. You saw me when we went to Snoop's birthday.
Yeah,
That's who I am. I'm not gonna put on roller skates and put that.
Yeah,
I respect the theme. I didn't get the memo, but maybe.
Yeah, neither did I.
Even
you saw what I was wearing.
Even if I did, I'd still popped in Happy Birthday and pop out. This is who I am.
Right.
And I've always been authentic to who I am.
Are you making music now?
Well, we're just starting.
Yeah.
Right? We're just starting. So, Jermaine Dupri, I saw Alchemist,
yeah, man.
A few days ago. Hopefully we get in the studio with Dr. Dre.
Yeah, man.
Those are all the people on my list. Timberland, Swiss Beats, cooking up something for me. So, definitely that young man that you introduced me to.
Terrence Martin, he was on you. Yeah. Hey, man, it's crazy because it's your voice, too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And as soon as you start talking, people are like, yeah, he sound like Shyne.
Yeah.
But even at one point, Shyne, the comparison with Biggie was crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it was around the time, once Biggie passed and you hear this guy, and even in the documentary, they broke it down right. It was like, it wasn't the voice.
Yeah.
It was also just, the career, the dialect. You know what I'm saying?
I think, I think that's happened to some of the greatest artists and athletes. Whether it's Kobe, God bless his soul, they compare him to Mike. But when it was all said and done, Kobe was Kobe.
Yeah, man.
Right? I don't think about Michael Jordan when I think about Kobe.
Right.
Right? But it's natural. It's human instinct to match and marry and identify people with things. And it's happened to other artists where they come out and it's like, oh yeah, he remind me of so-and-so. So for me, I always, knew this is the way I talk. I mean, it's 28 years later and the baritone, hasn't changed. You listen to me in the House of Representatives.
Right.
Same thing, any interview that I do. So for me, it was okay. I use it as inspiration, as fuel, to distinguish myself because, B.I.G. is one of the greatest of all time. So to have the comparison, whether by tone of voice or flow or whatever, it was important for me to say, okay, yeah, we have the same baritone, but this is Shyne.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to the Shyne album, I don't have a flow that sounds like anybody on the Shyne album. You listen to each, matter of fact, each record has a different flow. I switch flows every 8 bars on some records. And I challenge you to listen to the Shyne album and pay attention. And the flow doesn't sound like anybody. Definitely, but I've been inspired by people like Cool G Rap.
Oh, yes, sir.
Raekwon, Nas, Jay, Notorious B.I.G., of course. So of course they're going to inspire you. Dre, because Dre has a similar voice.
Yeah.
When he, was rapping on The Chronic and rapping on, different records, right? He has that kind of a heavy voice. So we're always inspired by greatness. But the key in creativity is to make it your own, right? Is to use your inspiration to create your own greatness. It's not AI, right? It's not about, a carbon copy of something. It's like, I could be inspired by something, but I'll be inspired to make something even greater or something that maybe, has the same feeling, but is different, right? So I was inspired to create something new, something unique, right? Mm-hmm. Similar voice, and then even with the voice, you could tell that it's me.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely so. Hey man,
and especially when you play, I know you probably can't play it.
Oh, what was
when you play the drop
I got a drop that he did.
The drop that I did for you, like that's Shyne. Like you listen to that, I'm spitting that fire.
And Shyne, I don't know what year that was. That was
2000.
You think was it 2000?
Yeah, that was 2000.
And you went in what? 2000?
2001, March 2001.
Because
so I think that was like the end of 2000, probably like after the album came out.
It felt like when you recorded that drop for me, like I said, man.
But you said I recorded it here.
Yeah, well, I was at another station. But when
I mean, like
but
here
when you
in LA.
recorded, we was right here at the station.
Yeah.
And when you recorded that, bro, I didn't see you again until
so
the
I
night
think
before
that was probably like November.
Yeah, and
December.
It was like you were gone.
Yeah, and then a few months later. Yeah.
I gotta ask you this, man. We're seeing a lot of deportations now, and being a person that was deported from the United States back to Belize, is deportation, and there's different kinds. We seeing people get snatched off the street, everything now.
Yeah.
How scary was deportation for you when you knew you had built something here, and now you're going back?
The interesting thing is, I gotta admit this. I don't know if I shared this with anyone before, is I'm responsible for my deportation.
Right.
I was actually in the system as an American. And there are a lot of people that go through the criminal justice system and they say, they're born in USA, born in Brooklyn. And nobody does any check. They just write it down. But I broke at a certain point when I was in Clinton, Dannemora. And I just wanted to get out. Obviously, I wasn't going to cooperate with the authorities. So my only way out was to have them send me back to Belize on a prisoner exchange. So Belize has a treaty with the United States where they can exchange prisoners so they could let you go back to Belize and serve your time. And so that's how I ended up getting deported, because the governor at the time, I think Pataki or whoever was in charge in New York, had agreed that they would let me go back. And the government in Belize had agreed. And then New York State reneged. Yeah. But I had already, so I had to tell them that, I was an immigrant and I wanted to go back to my country, and I had to waive, my rights and I did all of that. And but yeah, so when you
fucked by everybody.
No, but see, when you look at it, there are things that are beyond what we can even contemplate. And I believe there's a metaphysical network. And yeah, you make decisions, but I hate to say, it was meant to be. But when you look at what happened, I wouldn't necessarily change it, right? I'm not sure, because what may have happened if I came out with that energy, with that Tupac energy,
right?
You know, it might have ended bad. So maybe the Creator saved me from myself by deporting me, let me get that out my system, and then, you know, go to Israel.
But you got deported after the 8.5, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was trying to get out before
Right.
the 8.5.
Yeah.
I was trying to get, you know, it was like maybe 6 years. Like 6. And so I was trying to get out. But then it didn't work out. I had to serve the entire thing. But what I'm saying is, if I would have gotten out and stayed in America, and I would have, you know, approached things with the wrong energy,
Right.
who knows what would have happened. So it's like now I'm a completely evolved, totally different person, and that took time. And so God knew what he was doing, making sure I went
Don't make
went to
mistakes,
Belize, went to Israel, came back to Belize, started serving my people. You know, I'll show you how much I've evolved. And, you know, my political enemies in Belize, you know, they're vicious. So they're playing an ad against me where I was actually assaulted. Big Shyne Poe, who, you know, would reach for that thing in a minute and let you have it. But I've changed, and right before the general elections, it was maybe like a year before the Belize general elections, you know, someone put hands on me, and I walked away. Because if I didn't do that, I might have ended up killing that person or hurting that person, and then I would have been what everybody was saying I was, because all of my political enemies say, oh, he's a convict. Oh, how's he going to run for the House of Representatives? Oh, he's a criminal. And that moment made sure that God said, all right, yeah, he's ready. He's ready. And I got elected, you know, like a year later. So all of these things take time, right? It takes time, because, you know, if that would have happened,
yeah,
right?
Anytime beforehand.
Yeah. So, you know.
Shyne, man, it's a
Takes
pleasure
time.
to have you in the neighborhood, bro.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what's going on with Shyne, the music,
Yeah.
Shyne, the show,
Yeah.
the next documentary, the
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
the soundtrack,
That's right.
the tour,
That's
and just stay
the
at
memoir.
us, bro. Oh man,
Yeah, I'm doing a book.
yeah, because you gotta do that,
so
bro. Because
the movie's going to be an adaptation of the memoir. Yeah, and you know, I'm also in Belize I'm investing in resorts and condos. I'll be announcing some things very shortly, so make sure you follow me on Shyne_BZ. And like I said, I invite the entire crew here, standing invitation. Belize is paradise. You know, no better beaches, no better weather.
And you really on the pavement out there too, bro.
Yeah,
like you walk with people.
Listen, I travel the entire country because as leader, you're the leader of the entire country as the political leader of the opposition. So you got to be in the deep south, you got to be in the deep north, and whether it's Dangriga, whether it's Punta Gorda, whether it's, you know, Pachacan, whether it's Corozal, Orange Walk, you got to be all over, because you're asking people to put their lives in your trust. And the same way you see me do it now, you know, humble by myself, you know, because I'm here to help. I'm here to help everybody. I'm here to because I've been initiated to the highest level. That's why I chose that name, Moses. Moses was there to free his people and to free all people. And that's the stage of my life I'm at right now. I'm here to help everyone because I've been so fortunate. I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of blessings, a lot of miracles. And the more I get, the more I want to give. And the more I give, the more I get.
I heard that, Shyne.
Yeah.
Man, you got to come back and see us. Is it easy
Definitely.
for you to get back in the States?
Oh, well, I work in the States now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I work. So once I lost my seat, you know, I took the necessary measures to get a work visa because I had a diplomatic visa at the time as a member of parliament. But once I lost my seat, I just got a lawyer and went through the process to get a work visa. So I have like the highest visa for people that won Grammys and Oscars, and it's called.
I love
extraordinary
that when
ability visa.
when you came here, when you were sitting out there, I was like, "Who you with?" You're like, "I'm by myself." I'm like, "You drove here?" Like, "Yeah, I drove here."
Yeah,
Man, you move around.
yeah.
I heard that.
Do you
By the
ever get
grace of God.
confused as Barack Obama?
Hey man, I was about to ask that too.
They say that all the time.
Yeah, especially now with the years on you too, Shyne.
They say
I think
that all the time.
Didn't somebody comment like,
So many
Yeah.
of the comments were like, "Is that Barack Obama's
Yeah,
brother?"
man.
Shyne Obama.
"Yeah, man, yeah, he did
But
beautiful things too."
I'm a centrist. I support the United States of America, no matter whether it's Democrats or Republicans, because I want to have a relationship with the United States of America and the people of America, and the people of Belize. So I try to stay out of American politics, but
Right.
I have friendships on both sides of the aisle. There are Republicans that respect me, and actually got a proclamation in the Republican majority house in South Carolina, and Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democratic Party, he gave me a proclamation the other day for the Shyne album. So I try to keep a balanced set of relationships on both sides, because things change, and I want Belize to always
you doing
have
this
the
with a purpose.
opportunity, to continue a great and a strong relationship, no matter who's running America.
Shyne Paul, thank you for coming into the
Thank you for
neighborhood,
having
bro.
me, bro.
No, we'll see you again. Now that I know that the
Yeah.
visa's strong too.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
That's right.
Shyne in the neighborhood, big boy's neighborhood.